Let's start building virtual machines in the infrastructure that we've just built. So we created a resource group. We have a virtual network and a subnet already. And it's time we start hosting resources like a virtual machine inside the subnet in that VNet. Well, there are two methods. One is a simple method where you can let Azure assume defaults. Another is where we start inputting every parameter in the PowerShell. We'll do each one of them one by one. First method is a simple method where we will let Azure assume the default. So we'll say, hey, go ahead and create a virtual machine for me. So the command will be new hyphen Azure RM VM. All right. Now the font is too small, so I'm gonna increase the font for us. So that is all right. So that's that. New hyphen Azure RM VM, and the resource group in which I want to create this is in the resource group called prod underscore, yeah, it was vnet underscore prod, right? So we can verify that just by going here. Yeah, that's my virtual network, and the name of my VM is, just give it some name, web server. So now because it is going out of the boundary, out of the screen, I'm going to use this tilde here to let PowerShell know that, hey, the next line is in continuation to line number 1. It is not a separate line. And I want to put this in a location called East US. Alright, so select that from drop down menu. Then the virtual network in which I want to create this is well, I don't remember. I think it is vnet underscore prod. So, and the resource group name is prod itself. Prod, yeah. And then I'll use a tilde again to tell that it's in a different line. You don't have to do that. If you are able to get that in a single line, then that's fair enough. You can do that. You don't have to use a tilde. But the objective here is to understand what is tilde used for. So next time you find some script on the internet and that has this special character, you know what it is. Alright, and then I want to put this in a special subnet called as healthcare. And then I may also want to add some security groups to it. And the security group name is RDP allow or something. There you go, it goes to the next line again. And I want to make sure that it gets a public IP address, and the name of the public IP is random public IP, yeah. And then in the security group I want to specify some open ports. Inbound I want to allow 80, comma separated by few more ports, so you can do that. So this is simple way to write a PowerShell script to create a virtual machine. I'll go ahead and execute this to see what happens, and I must see the output right here on the screen. Now I get a pop-up like this. So when you create a VM, what is a user ID and password? Well, of that machine, I'm gonna punch it in. Make sure that we comply to the password requirements. I cannot use administrator. I usually use this name, root admin, and say OK. Now that user ID and password will be allowed to the virtual machine. Now in this case, there are a lot of defaults that are picked up. For example, we did not specify a lot of things like the storage account where the hard disk must go. We did not specify the image or the image size, the disk size. We did not specify what kind of operating system are you looking for. So it's going to assume a lot of defaults. What are the defaults? Well, you can find that in the documentation, and I'm going to tell you how to look at the documentation right from PowerShell. So it looks like our PowerShell script was accepted and it has started creating a virtual machine. Let's go ahead and verify it. I'm going to go to the virtual machine section right here, and then I must see a virtual machine in my resource group in my VNet. So there's my web server. Click on it, and thereafter you should be able to see the operating system that it selected by default. So it's gonna assume certain defaults if you do not specify any values explicitly, right? In the next video, we'll take a look at how you can explicitly specify the values one after another, so that way you make your customized script.